a little bit of instruction first off. The body has a hierarchy of how it moves through the process of preventing you from falling. So 3 steps: ankle movement, hip movement, and stepping. So how many of you have noticed when you're walking on maybe uneven ground, your ankles are having to adapt to that? That's that first strategy that our brain always looks to first to keep you upright and vertical. Correction at the ankle. If that doesn't work, you'll make a little bit of a hip correction to reacquire your base. And if that doesn't work, you end up having to step. So what we see in the clinic are people that have forgotten how to work their ankles or the hip strategy. And even they've forgotten the stepping strategy, and they immediately go to reaching and grabbing for something. And I'm going to say 50% of the time that's not successful. Or they may have prevented falling, but because of reaching and grabbing and holding on, they now have injured their shoulders or their wrists or their hands or something. So it's so important. Let's go back to basics. So first things first, let's find the strength in your ankles and your feet. So if you were next to a kitchen counter, someplace that you can just touch here, top edge of a chair, just work on strengthening your feet. So up on your toes, hold for a second, make the muscles work. Then bring it down, raise the toes up, work with that flexibility through the toes. Notice that I'm not sticking my rear end way out to do this. I'm standing with good straight posture. Toes up on toes, up and hold, just there. And I'm touching just for a little tactile cue for my brain to help with balance. You don't have to, it's just nice to have it there. So as you go up on your tiptoes, you can go without it, just there. And come down, toes up. This is much harder when you're not, especially this one. But it's educating your brain to pay attention to your ankles and your feet. Something else that you can do, just roll your feet out, roll them in. So you're on your big toes, you're rolling out on your small toes. Just feeling what's happening down there, becoming more aware. If you use a walker or a cane, some kind of assistive device, the body starts to prioritize the sensation through their hands instead of through their feet. And it almost as if it's ignoring the input from your feet. So we have to purposefully remind the brain, hey, my feet are here, I need to use them, they need to be strong. So 2 sets of 10 is a really good way of getting started with ankles. Now, what's the next one? Hip strategies. Let's just find how far can you lean to the left? How far can you lean to the right and still maintain your balance? You're just shifting your weight back and forth. Just feel it. Feel all that weight through your right foot as you lean to the right. Feel all your weight through your left foot. Find where that middle ground is. Front to back. Same thing. We're just working on finding that center point. Just move. How well can you move? Something else that's a problem that we see in the clinic all the time are folks perfectly safe in this plane of motion, but the moment they turn to look over there or behind them, because they're not strong or they don't have that sensation in their feet, they look over here and they lose their balance and they fall because of the balance center in their brain is oriented towards their hands. They're so used to using a walker or a cane or something like this. So it's important, train this up in a safe environment where you can touch something, have a backup plan, something there to help you. Ankle, hip. The last strategy is stepping. So how many people have seen those log rolling competitions where the log rollers are standing on those logs and they're kind of running back and forth? That's a perfect example of ankle, hip, and step. When they eventually they're going to lose their balance and fall off. They're trying to step, but there's nothing to land on. But it's a great example of the ankle and hip strategy. So stepping, here we go. You lose your balance, you just need to step to get out there quickly. Here's a problem that a lot of people have, again, because they're thinking about their feet, their knees, they're not really connected. When they go to step, they're losing their balance. They don't get their foot out fast enough, or it catches the floor as they're stepping, and they end up falling from full height. So however tall they are, you catch your foot and then you trip and you fall straight forward, and that's where we see injuries happen. So we need to think about proximal to distal motion. All the power comes from the core, from the pelvis. So when you need to take a step, it's going to take time to train yourself to do this, but once you get used to it, it's automatic, and that's how the body wants to do it, is launch from your pelvis. Step from here. Step from the pelvis. The knee and foot, they know what to do. Step from here. And that goes every direction. Lateral, backwards, any direction. So in the clinic, we train it as if we're standing on a clock. So 12 o'clock is here, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And we'll start training, okay, step to 12 o'clock, launch right to 12 o'clock and back. Go to 3, out here. Go to 9, things like that. It's easy when you imagine this clock principle. Then you can start making a little bit more complex. 1:30, 7:30, something like this. You can do this standing with something here to the side, kitchen countertop or a high back chair, just touching, thinking about what you're doing. So I want to go back to the beginning now, thinking about proximal to distal motion. So diaphragmatic breathing, deep core is tight, step, launching from here, straight ahead, 12 o'clock, launch, just like this. Okay, now I need to talk about something else. What happens when we do this correctly? So if I launch, I step forward, you can look, my posture is still good. Can you see that? I'm not bent over anyway. My posture is still good. What have I done? I have widened my base. I've lowered my center of gravity. I'm closer to the floor. The ground must be your friend and not your enemy. And that is in the adult population, the fear of falling is paramount. So we have to train, and this is what we do in the clinic. We train people all the time how to fall correctly. I know you've had instructions on how to get up from the floor. Think about if you lose your balance and you can take that big step, you are now closer to the floor. Even if you're unsuccessful, you're closer to the floor than you were before. And you can easily take yourself to the floor. Safer. It's much safer this way than reaching to grab something and miss it and fall from full height. So this is important, and we are focusing a lot on this in the clinic. So I think we should practice this a little bit as a group. So if we can do this together.
I'm with you.
Okay, so here we go. We're just going to do the clock principle, and we're just going to do 12, 6, 3, 9, and then I'll call it out. We'll have a little bit of fun with different angles. So here we go. So we're just going to 12, step, and return. 6 o'clock, step, and return. 9 o'clock, and return. 3, out here. Okay, that's pretty easy, the 4 corners. So let's make it interesting. We're going to go to 10:30. Okay, now we're going to 4:30, just like that. Center, we're going to go to 1:30. Boom. 7:30. So we got our diagonals. Now we can get a little bit trickier. Let's go to 10:30 and 1:30. So 10:30 and 130. Now step back. So all sorts of fun things you can do here. So, okay, we need to practice crossing midline. So here I am, I was going directly in the same side. Not all falls happen that way. Sometimes you end up having to cross over. So let's think about that just for a minute. We're just gonna cross over diagonally, just to feel that. That happens sometimes. Cross over diagonally to the front and to the rear. Here we go. This happens sometimes. And to the rear, just like that. Everything applies. I'm still closer to the floor, and this is much closer to real world, just like this. And to the front, and to the center, and to the rear. Now we're doing a curtsy, aren't we? And crossover. And last time, right there. So this is some fun stuff that we do in the clinic all the time with our clients to help them with fall prevention and give them strategies that they can do in their home or their apartment, wherever they live. I hope that helps.
For information on the Sit and Be Fit Streaming Club or Sit and Be Fit workouts, including resources for lymphatic health, neuropathy, improving balance and brain health, write Sit and Be Fit, P.O. Box 8033, Spokane, Washington 99203. Or call toll-free at 1-888-678-9438, or visit our website, sitandbefit.org.